So Boz,
Yes.
thank you so much for sitting down with us really quickly.
My pleasure.
Had a beautiful morning. The keynote, you kicked it off with such great energy. But
Thank
just
you.
quickly before we start, just let everybody know who you are. A quick bit of your background.
Well, I'm Boz Saint John. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Endeavor, which is the parent company of WME, IMG, the UFC, Miss Universe, Professional Bull Riders Association, and many other companies.
That's absolutely amazing. I'm Scott Pinckney. I'm the VP Executive Creative Director for Publicis Toronto and Canada. So we're a customer engagement agency. So really quickly, I want to talk a lot about this morning. You talked a lot about diversity, and I love the idea of bringing yourself to work.
Yes.
Why is it so important that we don't leave ourselves at the door, but we bring that to the work that we do?
Well, it's important for inclusion. I think a lot of times we talk about diversity, but we forget the part about inclusion. Diversity is being asked to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. And if we don't bring our fullness of ourselves to the office where people can see our human connections, how you and I can interact on things that are beyond the surface, then we have no chance at connecting with anyone else who doesn't look like us. And so usually I am encouraging those who are the majority in these spaces to think about inclusion as bringing even their whole selves, because once they do that, then it's easier to connect with someone who doesn't even look like you, behave like you, live like you, or anything.
Excellent. Love the fact, your background, the different agencies you work at, Beats, Uber, Apple, going forward as a marketer, bringing yourself to work. Why is it important for us, number one, to try different avenues of marketing? I thought that was fabulous.
Yeah, well, because that's the way our audiences behave. Our audiences are not monolithic. And so if we're not bringing the fullness of ourselves to these companies and to our strategies and then eventually to the work, how do we expect for anyone to connect to them? So to me, it's a simple, idea about customer engagement that perhaps we don't pay enough attention to.
The Then Conference has been going extremely well. Why is it important for marketers to attend events like this?
Oh, well, because we get a chance to connect to each other. We get to hear different perspectives, not just about strategy, but how to communicate, that maybe there's an idea or a perspective that sparks and inspires a new way of thinking. And that's really what I hope comes out of all of these conversations, and perhaps what somebody would have taken from my talk this morning, to leave inspired about thinking how to bring their fullness of themselves to their work instead of just thinking about what's the best way to increase my strategy.
You talked about technology. I know I think it was Beats where you said technology wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
How do the young talent become bold like that to make leaps into new areas? Why is that important?
Well, it's really important because we understand that we are capable human beings, that our minds are capable of learning new ideas to be able to expand. So for me, I'm in a constant state of learning. Just because you make it to the C-suite doesn't mean that you stop learning. I'm always in a state of curiosity. And so I never think that there's anything that's out there that I cannot learn. And so it doesn't matter what age or level or position you hold, you should always be curious.
Okay, so DMA went through a rebranding, the Data Marketing Association. Just really quickly, what's your view on data? What keeps us, what do you think, what keeps you up at night thinking about data in terms of your new role?
Well, data is really important because, yes, of course, it's the underpinnings of most of our work. It's the underpinnings of how we, create our strategies and how we look at our audiences. But I think there's a misconception that data is not creative, which is a real problem, because I feel that data is very creative. It's the only way to create a story is to start with the data, which then is interpreted. And how do you do that if you're not creative, you're not thinking about new ways to create narratives? And so for me, it's a really important distinction, understanding that there are no lines between what we think is creative and what we think is data, that those two things are one and the same.
Actually, so tell me real quickly one thing that you do to inspire your teams.
Well, a few things, but mostly it is about bringing them full selves, because to me there's so many things that happen on a daily basis that if you left it checked at the door, we would never see it. We would never be inspired. We would never feel whatever it is that you felt that morning. So there might be someone that walked in that saw something really interesting on their walk into work or on their drive in, or maybe they watched the show last night that was inspiring, or maybe they listened to a piece of music. I want to know all of that. I want all of that to be part of the work. So I keep my teams inspired by asking them to bring everything that they learn, they do, they think, they feel to the office.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you. Appreciate it.